Hey, what's going on? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas with you for another edition of Tropics Watch, and we have a couple of things to watch in the tropics. One close to the United States, one not so close to the United States, but could end up impacting the Windward Islands over the next couple of days, and then eventually rolling on to Central America. So our friends watching from parts of Central America, even northern South America, could be impacted by what is officially dubbed Invest 94L, but is likely to become a tropical depression over the next couple of days. Again, this is Tropics Watch. If you like the content that we are putting out, please subscribe to the New 6 clickorlando.com YouTube channel there by hitting that big red subscribe button. When the bell pops up, you can hit that as well, and that will allow you to get alerts every time we publish something that will come to your smartphone, or get your notification that we have put something else on the channel. If you want to continue the conversation further, we post more content on my Facebook page. That is Jonathan Kegas News 6. And then, of course, on Twitter at Jonathan Kegas. So, again, we have a lot going on and would love if you give all of those a like and a follow. A lot going on in the tropics, atypically for this time of the year, at least in a weird part of the world where we typically don't see that in June. Of course, we have something that is close to the United States, right off of the west coast of Florida. Right along the North Gulf Coast, that could eventually develop over the next couple of days as it works its way, really drifts out into the North Gulf Coast. We're going to get all into that. We'll talk about that one first. And then, of course, the one with the higher opportunity for development, at least at this time, a 70% shot to become a tropical depression by the next couple of days. So that's something that we are watching closely as well. I want to show you the one close to home, and it really doesn't have much going on going for it right now anyway. You see just a very disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms, mainly off of New Orleans, off of the panhandle of Florida. And this is what could drift off to the west here, really impacting areas around Louisiana into Texas over the next couple of days. Some things are hinting at it. I'll show you a couple of the model solutions in a second here, but not everything is biting. The water temperature is really, really warm. So this is a kind of a wide view here of the Atlantic Basin, and the Atlantic Basin is compiled of the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Caribbean Sea. So when I say Atlantic, I know that all these things aren't happening in the actual Atlantic Ocean, but it's the Atlantic hurricane season because it takes into account all of those basins. So here we go. This is into Tuesday, and what you're looking at here is the vorticity, basically the spin in the low to mid levels of our atmosphere. And when we have that red color, that means we've got a decent amount of spin in the atmosphere at that level, and when it's kind of like a big circle, that's when it's consolidated. And for a system to become tropical, you need it to kind of be consolidated, certainly to intensify. And we're starting to see just a little bit of it there. That is that disturbance that had the 20% shot over 5 days. And then this is Invest 94L that continues. So you see as we go forward in time here, really as we close in on Wednesday, it's going to be a race to determine which one, if any, get a name going forward. You see it there by Tuesday night into Wednesday. It's certainly partially on shore there already. So this is going to be a very short-lived thing if it does develop along the north or west Gulf Coast. But certainly, at least on the American GFS model, looks pretty consolidated. So there's going to be potential there for that to be a sneaky, impactful storm for parts of West Louisiana or getting into the Gulf Coast of Texas. On to 94L, at least by this time here, it is really, really close to the northern edge of South America, so there's going to be questions as to what this looks like at this time, if it had already been a depression or a storm by that point. But you see there, the reds are really stretched out. I want to take you forward in time. I'll go back to that one again to kind of take you forward a little bit further in a second. But the water temperature, when it in regards to the one that could develop right along Louisiana into Texas, look how warm this is. Been showing you this for the last couple of times. 91 degrees. That's crazy for June, just to the east of New Orleans. It's always warm in this part of the world, but nonetheless, there's 90-degree water temperature if it takes its time, if it tries to develop, but kind of drifts a little further west as anticipated. Look at that. Water temperature is at 88, 89. This is bath water off the coast of Corpus Christi, 87 degrees. Brownsville, Texas, 84 degrees. To get a tropical storm to be able to develop its thunderstorms around and really be able to sustain itself, you need water close to 80, really at 80 degrees and above. And you see there that we really have most of that going for it. So there's a lot of warmth, a lot of fuel for that to play with if it can start to get its act together a little bit. Want to move forward now to 94L. And again, over the next couple of days, both of these could really get going. And closer to the Gulf Coast of Texas, that's where in the short term we could have impact. So again, that sneaky system for the United States. This one I don't think is going to work its way towards the U.S., but certainly could impact and likely will at some degree the Windward Islands on the southern end of the Lesser Antilles here. The northern end of South America, getting in toward Aruba, and then Central America. And it's especially Central America where this thing could unfortunately get its act together for. You see a 70% shot for development. Want to show you a really, really high-definition satellite image here. This is the 1-minute scan of the GOES 16 channel here, and it's taken every minute. So you see the very well-defined thunderstorm activity here coming out of its diurnal maximum period of convection. These things really get their thunderstorm activity going overnight. That's where there's the most of the instability. So we typically see at least developing storms look pretty decent when the sun comes up on them, and you see all these towers here bubbling up. The center likely somewhere in there, or the at least defining center. We need to get a nice satellite pass over that to determine if we do have a center. And if we do, in fact, have a center underneath all those clouds, it's going to be pretty close to tropical depression status, as winds are estimated in there to be about 30 miles an hour. So we shall see once we get a good, reliable satellite path to kind of take off the hood, if you will, and look underneath all of those clouds. But it's certainly the healthiest this thing has ever looked. And we will continue to see what that looks like. So interesting to see once we get a good satellite pass to determine what the winds are doing in there and what the wind direction is in there. In terms of the latest computer model forecast, I want to show you this here. These are the spaghetti plots, the infamous spaghetti plots. There's a lot of good agreement. We talked about this on the last edition of Tropics Watch, how there's a very strong Bermuda high, which is going to keep this thing suppressed to the south and kind of guide it off to the west. So that is why there's such good agreement for a system that really hasn't developed yet. But here's the deal going forward. Again, we're going to watch this close. Look how close it gets to Aruba here. And then really into Central America. This is as we get towards Wednesday into Thursday, into that time frame. So in about a week, this is the one beyond here. So this is here we go, Invest 94L, which again could become and likely will become a depression as it would approach the Central America area. And I want to run those for you again just to show you a better timeline. So there we go, Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. And then we go into Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. And then this is going to be next Thursday. So not this one coming up. So this is, again, a week from now, getting into that time frame. So just be mindful of that really towards the middle and latter stages of next week, we could have a strengthening tropical system. And I say that because the environment is very, very good. And it's good in a bad way because obviously we don't want this thing strengthening. We know from past experiences, of course, we know the terrain of Central America. And even a weak system can be disastrous because of the terrain in the mountains and, of course, all that tropical moisture. But 94L or whatever it is by the time it gets into the Eastern Caribbean, depending upon how much land interaction there is with South America, the northern end of it, could struggle. But really, there are indications that once it gets west of Colombia into the same kind of parallel here with Jamaica, and it should stay south of the Caribbean islands, at least of Jamaica, getting into Haiti, Dominican Republic, and into Puerto Rico. It should stay somewhere in here, but you see where all that pink and red is up on the scale here of the hurricane index. That's on the favorable side. The wind shear looks pretty decent. And again, I'm talking for the storm. We obviously don't want it to be that. But nonetheless, so certainly if you're watching from Nicaragua, Belize, Central America, getting into Honduras as well, be on the lookout for this, that really, as we get toward mid to late next week, we could have a developing system, a strengthening system in this part of the world, in between Colombia and then heading towards parts of Central America, really Belize, getting into Nicaragua, Honduras, into this area as well. So we're going to be watching that closely for you guys. Again, United States, this is not coming here with, at least on the highest probabilities, this is staying towards Central America. And then, of course, we are going to watch that sneaky little system for some low-grade impacts. I mean, the potential for a low-grade tropical storm is there. Along the Louisiana or Texas coastline. So again, just a heads up play. It doesn't have much room to get very, very strong. But again, this is something that can spin up quick, especially since it's going to be a small storm. So again, watching that for the potential for some impacts as well. There, of course, is a wide view of the Atlantic Basin. There is 94L as it works in this direction. Again, it is very far south. These things, it's really, really far south. But again, expected to come close to the northern side of Central America, or South America, I should say, and head toward Central America. See that little itty bitty bubble up of the thunderstorms there, west of Florida. Gonna head in that direction. And then just one last thing, this wave here that emerged from Africa also has the potential to develop. I want to show you one last thing here, and bring up weathernerds.org. Love this site to show you some of the ensemble forecasts here. But here, of course, what you see are the little cursor. That is all the ensemble forecasts developing 94L, or at least showing the progression. Here in the Gulf of Mexico are the little hinting of that other little weak disturbance right now. And then behind 94L, this is the GFS ensembles now. And again, the different initial conditions compiled into the model. It's one of the best ways to look at the evolution of a system when there's not a real good center in there, when there's not really good data, because there's different initial conditions kind of put in there to kind of tweak the forecast, to tweak the model, if you will, to kind of get different outcomes. We don't know much about the actual system itself. So the GFS kind of hinting again that something is going to get close to the Texas coast, maybe even the Mexican coastline there. So watching that. And then behind it, you see that little wave towards the Antilles. Now, the environment a little more hostile out here, so there's a little hazy if that even has a chance to develop. But nonetheless, going to watch that. And then really the same kind of picture painted on the European ensembles. You see that little flare-up of a few little L's there, just hinting at that there's going to be a little chance for development there over the next couple of days. And this is going to be here on the evening of the 28th. There's the timestamp as it approaches the Antilles. That's 2 to 3 days away still from the Lesser Antilles. And then that little hint that wave that emerged from Africa behind Invest 94L will also have an opportunity to develop. The colors we're seeing here, this is the mean sea level pressure, so there's the strength of the Bermuda High really stretching through most of the Atlantic into the extreme southwest Atlantic and the Bahamas, and that's going to keep everything south of the United States, but also kind of steer it into the northern side of South America, into Central America. But again, three things, a very atypical pattern. What you would see going on and around Texas, that's what we would typically see this time of the year. In the mid to late June, cold fronts coming down, kind of stalling off, the thunderstorms kind of wrapping around themselves there. But this here, we typically don't really see that wave train off of Africa get going until really the latter stages of July, and then certainly August with the Cabo Verde season getting underway. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the latest edition of Tropics Watch. Again, a lot going on for June standards, especially watching those couple of areas closely. And again, I'm going to have more updates on my Facebook page. You can find me at Jonathan Kegas News 6 or on Twitter at Jonathan Kegas if you have any questions. feel free again to hit me up over there and give that a like. And again, subscribe to this channel. Next updates, you will get an alert there on your phone for you. Again, this has been the latest edition of